right, let's get going. We're going to pull up some news stories. The S&P closes higher Monday after briefly touching 6-month low. Raw take. Don't care about what the stock market is doing at all. If you're a retirement age and you're kind of living off the stock market, I guess you would care in this moment. Really think about this. In this moment right now, the price of the stocks in your portfolio, who does that matter to? Matters to the very wealthy, okay? Because then they can take loans out against their stocks and whatnot, and then they don't have to pay taxes because they don't really have to sell the stocks. Or if you're older and you're living off of your IRA, 401, whatever, you're like, oh, the stock, when I sell my stocks this month, because that's what I have to live off of, that sucks. But that's really the only people, and most of these people are right, should be living off the dividends, I believe, of their stock portfolio and not really cannibalizing it. Maybe that is part of some people's models. But the stock market, and everyone talks about it. Trump doesn't want to say anything when the stocks go down. He's, they're going up. They're going up. Who cares? No one cares. No one cares about the stock market. I don't care. You probably don't care. This guy on the trading floor cares. I'm not happy about it. They go up. They go down. I've done a few trades. Every once in a while, I'll do a trade. Seems like a shoe-in, but doesn't affect my life, and I could care less. As far as the stock market having a big pullback since Trump has been elected, big is all relative. What's up, dude?
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir. All right, bye-bye. Okay, back to this. What was I saying? Oh, yes. This big drawback that we've had since old Donald Trump has won the election. Then, got in office and everything. Yes, the stock market is pulling back because the stock market doesn't like uncertainty. And the stock market is used to a certain way of business. And that certain way of business has been companies going overseas and exploiting very cheap labor and then bringing those products back into the United States and selling it to the American people, mostly on credit. A lot of credit cards. A lot of home equity lines of credit. That's how the stock market works. And that's what incentivizes CEOs, board of directors, everyone, mid-level factory workers to cut as many people as possible and chase the absolute highest amount of profit possible without any foresight of the distant or near distant future. When I say that, 10 years, 5 years, just ship it overseas, shut down the factory, ship it overseas immediately. China's got slaves ready for us. And they said, don't worry, when they jump out the window and maybe the nets catch them, maybe the nets don't catch them, we'll have more. Because we have so many people right now that are unemployed. They have a serious unemployment problem in China, in case you didn't know that. They just pay people just to paint buildings that are vacant. Because when you have that many men and they don't have many women around, huge differential there because they have aborted hundreds of millions of females with their one China policy, and all the families say, oh, we're going to have a boy. You have tens of millions of unemployed men in a country. That's a very dangerous situation for a regime. So they'll always have cheap labor. They'll always have slave labor. And that's the truth. And so now the stock market is pulling back because people are realizing, okay, well, if you come back into the United States, these companies now they'll have to either have a tariff on their product, which is going to make it more expensive, right? Either way, it's getting more expensive for us. The question is, do you want it to be made by slave labor, then brought in, and then you pay a tariff? Or would you want to pay roughly the same price, or maybe even a little bit more, but it's made inside the United States, where we have health regulations, we have OSHA, we have safety regulations. We employ each other and our neighbors, and we give people a sense of purpose. And it continues to build our infrastructure and a future for our children. The stock market is not set up or incentivized by any of that. It's incentivized, and they're actually legally obligated, and this is what they all hide behind, for shareholder value. Now, and I'm sure somebody with an MBA is going to tell me why. I don't give a fuck what you have to say about it. It's not shareholder value to give someone a signing bonus or a hiring bonus or an exit bonus of $90 million, Starbucks, but also letting go of 1,600 people. Let's pull that story up. I only can find this shit on Facebook. Okay, so we got the stories up. Funny enough, not really a story about the same thing at once. They're two separate things. Let's talk about the layoffs first. Because at first glance, it seems kind of like a normal economic cycle thing. Starbucks to lay off 1,100 corporate workers and CEO's restructuring plan. Excuse me. CEO's restructuring plan. We'll get back to him in just a second. Okay, long story short, people don't have as much coffee. Or people want a lot of coffee. Okay, so we got the stories up. It's not just one story. There wasn't really anyone that I saw that wrote about it at the same time about the current or recent layoffs at Starbucks and a very large bonus for the CEO. Something about corporate, like shareholder value or something. Anyways, the layoff at Starbucks corporate workers have been laid off. It seems like a very normal economic cycle thing. They're laying off roughly 1,100 corporate workers. People don't have as much money to go and get a $7 cup of coffee. Now, me personally, I'm a tall nitro cold brew guy. Black, that's how I like it. That's how I want it. Don't put anything in it. If you don't have it when I come through the drive-thru, I might make the 8 o'clock news. Okay, because I was ready that day. I had robbed somebody get enough money to get a good coffee. But now you don't have it because something's wrong with the nitro pump or whatever, however it works. I don't care. I just want it. I want my coffee. Okay, but not everyone can do that, and I don't do that every day of the week. I do it maybe once. It's a little treat. And it is very delicious. People are running out of money. People are broke. Everyone's broke. Okay? Everyone. Except the CEO of Starbucks that's laying people off. From Business Insider, Starbucks' new CEO made nearly $100 million in his first 4 months running the company. Here's what is included in his pay package. Look at this guy. If you said, AI, make me the biggest douchebag you can, this is exactly what the fuck would pop out. I mean, there's not a hair out of place. The big chin, the jaws are huge. This guy must just gnaw on rubber all day. His total compensation, taking the gig since September and the end of 2024, $95,800,000 and $1,000.67. Okay, so here's the deal. It's so big, it's hard to read. And I don't know why they get so specific. Just say, hey, man, here's a cool 95. Is he going to come back and be like, hey, I need that $801,000, $676. I need all that. The pay was mostly in stock awards, but also included a $5 million bonus after 1 month on the job. He's a bean counter. He came in and fired a bunch of people. They said, wow, thanks. Thank you. He's fired them with a smile. And then said, okay, well, that's going to save us X. Here's your cut. He's kind of like a hitman, like an economic hitman. That's all these people are. Did he grow the company? Did he add more customer experience? Did he come up with something better than Nitro Cold Brew? No. Oh. Okay, so he made almost $100 million. You've said this 3 times now. The compensation was mostly in stock awards. His base salary is only, $61,000 before his award of $90 million worth of stock. His pay package also includes $5 million sign-on bonus. Okay, so he's only getting $61,000 a year, guy. Like, fuck, what are you worried about? Why are you bitching? But here's $90 million in stocks and a $5 million sign-on bonus. Dude, what? That's what we're talking about here. This stock option package and all the workarounds. The reason he didn't take a $90 million salary is because he'd be paying out the fucking ass in taxes. And so they play these games behind the taxes. Now, there's very good, I've heard the arguments on why you don't want to do the carried interest and having people pay taxes on stocks they're holding. I get the conversation. I actually agree with it, but there's still something flawed here. Oh, I don't know. It just keeps going on and talking about how this guy's getting paid so much. And this goes on and on and on. And why I got on this is that this is it. We're picking on Starbucks because everyone knows it, everyone loves it, everyone drinks it. Sometimes when they hand you the drink and it's fucked up, you want to throw it back in their face because, like, dude, I rarely get to come here. And I told you specifically, and you put it on the ticket, this is how I want it, and you don't know what you're doing. The problem is when I go to Starbucks and I know that this person is not like fucking trans, bisexual, something, right? Like they're not in a polyamorous something or other, right? Like a pod. If they're not in a pod, coffee's gonna fucking suck, right? If they're just like, nope, I got a girlfriend, I got a boyfriend, we're in a committed relationship, we're dating to marry. Yeah, we would, one day, maybe when we're 70, we can buy a house. That's our plan. Can you give me a tip? You think I can give a tip? Maybe I can get that a little bit sooner. Fucking that coffee's gonna suck. So you might as well just go to a different one, right? Maybe one next to a Whole Foods. Actually, the prices will be a little bit more expensive, but it's fine because that's where you're going to find those people. Sums up a problem that has really started in the 70s and in the 80s, and it just picks up speed and continues to go and go and go. Mergers and acquisitions, stock options, legally binding the board of directors and the CEO and the CFO and the COO and all these people. You have to keep squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. And if you don't, and if we go back and review how you could have fired a few more people and how you could have offshore jobs out of America and traded in for slave labor, we're going to sue you. We're going to fire you. And then you're not going to get your next sign-on bonus of $5 million or your next $90 million in stock options. And how does one say no to that? There's something wildly wrong with the incentive structure we have here. The left has been screaming about it for a really long time, and we're a little late to the party, right? We're not oblivious to the issue. We just didn't like your solutions. Now the right is coming up with some different solutions the left's not going to like. And of course, I'm definitely not qualified to talk about them in depth. I think a few people have some really good ideas about it. Steve Bannon is one of them pushing this. And this really needs to happen. This is a fundamental change that needs to happen about, there's a conversation, Jeff Bezos his salary is only $1.5 million a year or something. It's like, well, how the fuck did he buy a boat? How did he buy the boat? I think I read something that it was like built in the Netherlands, and they had to destroy an old bridge to get it through out to the to the ocean. What? You're telling me that's all he gets? Like, no, it's stocks. He's taking loans out against the stocks. And he is selling some stocks, but he's also doing other trades. And, they got these lawyers, and it's like, oh, well, these lawyers are really good and they can make you not have to pay taxes. Like, yeah, but those lawyers are the same lawyers writing the tax law. So they're like writing themselves in a job where they can just go, they write the law, they know there's loopholes now, and now they go to the richest people in the world, be like, only I know. I am the gatekeeper. And you are the keymaster with all that money. And if you pay me a lot of money, I will show you how to keep more of your money and not pay, and I hate to say it, your fair share. I know. I got a join or die hat, American glasses on. You thinking, I might even like chewing tobacco. I don't. I tried it. I tried Zyn actually for a little bit. I didn't like the way it made me feel. So instead, I'll just have more coffee. But they really do. This is a serious issue, right? The wealth's not going to the workers. It's not staying in America. And if it is parked in America, it's not being properly utilized, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, right? It's his money. He can do what he wants. He can do this. He can do that. Well, to some degree, yes. But to other degree, no. Publicly traded company. I think he's very dishonest about the tax law and how it's being used today. That's what the lobbyist industry is about. They have to pay, and I just say they, like just rich people in general have to pay like this, the lobbyists, to make this shit happen. And that's why they want to keep the IRS around, because the IRS allows them to do leverage and get them out of paying big tax dollar money. Well, people like me and you are like, fuck, the 15th's coming around, April 15th. Get your dick out and put it on the fucking table, because here it comes, the hammer. And there's really nothing to do about it at this point. We have an election. We have election. I mean, really the only thing you do is just kind of let the whole thing default. I think there has been a case to where, you could, I mean, in utopia on the right and left, you could have utopias where you can get out of this deal. The problem is that's not going to happen. We're not coming together, dude. It's just not going to happen. Like, it's just not going to happen, dude. Like, we're not going to come together. Either one side is going to efficiently defeat the other one in enough elections consecutively, or you're just going to keep kind of going back and forth until eventually the empire falls. It's no longer the reserve currency. That's really going to be the big hit. And we kind of are now just like on a plateau with China and the EU and America, and then maybe some kind of weird BRICS thing. And that's fine. We can compete there. America itself, the land will still be here. I don't know if our culture will be here, and we're going to talk about that here in just a second. All right. Let's talk about immigration. We're a country of immigrants. Yes. True. Do we want more? No. No, we don't. We're full, dude. Yes. We were a country of immigrants, but like JD Vance says, doesn't mean we have to continue to have the dumbest immigration policy of the whole world in 2025. Okay? Right now, it's not looking good. Now, Trump DHS, they're like, go get them. Go get all of them. Every single one of them. The worst first, but all of them, right? Okay. Huge problems. Not going to happen, honestly. Too many. You don't have enough staff. You don't have enough funding from Congress. Where are you going to put all these people? There is a time frame in which you are holding them. And right now you are stacked up above your head. You are underwater in people that you have arrested. By the way, if you follow ICE or Border Patrol or any of these people, they'll post who they're catching. These are not good people by any means. And that's why you're actually not seeing specific examples on the Hill, leftist media, etc., because they're like, okay, well, we can't defend this guy from Venezuela or Colombia, wherever he's from, that has been like raping his cousin or whoever. It's like rape, incest, under 14 years old, right? Known, and had an arrest warrant out under the Biden administration. People are saying, oh my gosh, how are they arresting people so fast? Well, it's because at least ICE and Border Patrol and DHI have been at least stacking up the warrants and the info on these people. So once it was time to shake and bake, January 20th and on, they had everything already going. So the Biden administration knew about these people, right? And I don't blame Biden. I don't blame, the millions of Democrats that voted for him. I blame the administrative state around him, and that is in DC. They are radicals. They all went to colleges that are Ivy League, and they're leftists, and they're this and that, and they're ideologically driven. The government pays great? Absolutely. They're good jobs. They're easy jobs. But they also know that now they can push their ideology onto America, whether you agree with it or not, because you're living under it, under all these different departments. The immigration department and everything that goes into it, and the courts, border security, border patrol, open border policies, all of it. That's all this was. It was a demographic change, and they had said that before in the mid 2012 to 2016, 17 is really when they're like, oh, don't say that. That's right. That's a ridiculous idea. That's crazy. Well, no, that's what you guys were talking about. But regardless, they're arresting thousands every week. It's not enough. You need to arrest like 10,000 people a day. Actually, if you wanted to hit if you wanted to hit the number, that's what you would need to do. Of like 11 million, I think there's probably like 15 to 20 million people here. It's really hard to say because we had for almost 4 years. Well, I mean, she did say don't come. Right? She did say don't come, but we had millions of people. Literally, Border Patrol at that point was ordered and forced to not only not enforce the boundary of the border, they're actually forced to help people come across. Go into the river. Help them wade across. Do it or you're fired, right? Fill out their paperwork faster. Give them a court date 8 years from now. 8 years from now. Yeah, they can have 4 or 5 kids. None of them speak English, even if they're born here, because their parents don't speak any English. It'll be put on the school system. And if they did finally show up for their court, it'd be like, oh, but my family's here. Like my kids are they're citizens. You're gonna deport me, and then it's like, well, I guess not, right? No, we don't want to do that. Okay, cool. So the whole thing is a setup from the beginning, and they're manipulating you emotionally to get it done. But that's fine. You live and you learn. I think a lot of people saw that. My phone doesn't stop vibrating. It's the worst. These group chats suck. I lost my train of thought. Okay, that's where I was. Yes. So now we're like, okay, we need to find a partner, someone who's Hispanic, so it's not like, one white guy in country shipping it off to another white guy in country. Like, we can't, hey, Romania, take care of these people. We don't want to hear from them ever again. That's not going to work. So we went to El Salvador, and the president there, whose name slips my mind, I forget, it's a small country, smaller country right there, okay, in Central America. You have to go through it if you're going to walk, which I found out most of these people aren't even walking. I thought they were walking from like Brazil and stuff. No, they're just like flying into northern Mexico. Okay? You're telling me these people are so bad off they can afford flights? They got cell phones and shit? They got their Walmart transfer set up? Fuck you. Anyways, not going to welcome them with open arms. It's just not going to happen. You can't convince me otherwise. Flying in El Salvador, this guy runs and arrests like 1% of the population, gang members. He builds supermax prisons, and he's got some room left. And he said, hey, Big Trump, I can take some of those people off your hands, because Colombia's not going to want their gangs back. They're not going to want their thugs. They're not going to want the people that they kicked out. It's been better there without them. Maybe some of their political rivals and stuff too kind of took a hike. They said, now's not a good time for me. Same thing in Venezuela. And in any other shithole country down there. Beautiful countries, it looks like. Never visited. And I'm sure the people are great. But the fact remains is that there's a lot of poverty. There's a lot of problems. And the men of those countries decided, fuck that. I'm not going to make the hard decision and try to fix my own country. I'm going to take my happy ass right up the road and come to America and then just show up with all of the entitlement in the world. And that is not that is their fault, but actually that is pushed onto them, and they have taken that and ran with it. And that's from the left, because they want to create an inviting environment for these people, because you got to incentivize them to come. It's a long trip. Okay. Even on a flight, 3-hour flight. Now you got to mess with the cartel. There might be some kind of NGO on the other side that will help you. They got an app. Great. Still, Rio Grande could be cold. The border wall, you got to walk to the end where we didn't finish it. Pretty tough. Now they're here. The left is freaking out about this. And now we have district judges. And I don't know anything about the judges. Okay? I don't know. All I know is that for some reason, the American people voted. You have a House majority in the House, a majority in the Senate, governorships, state house, everywhere. And it's like some random judge in Boston or DC or Oregon or wherever, not even a Supreme Court judge, like just some rando. It's like, no. And you're like, well, yes. And he's like, no, here, got a piece of paper. Okay, well, fuck. Now we're waiting 4 or 5 weeks and it has to go to the next, because the next guy says yes, and then it gets repealed, and the next, and then it gets up to the Supreme Court, where they're like, well, guys, we don't want to get involved in politics. And this is very political, so we're just going to like whatever they say when they don't want to judge on it. Okay? That sucks, man. That we have judges like that, or any kind of judge that can interfere like this. This is a security issue. There's not just Hispanics. There's also Chinese people here. Yes, China, if you don't think China is sending commandos here to be here just in case something pops off, you are an idiot. You are an idiot. And we've caught them. ICE has caught them. They've been running cases. And now you're starting to see high-level people get arrested like they did in Virginia. They've been here. Like number 3 or whatever in one of the gangs. Like, he's just chilling right down the road from DC. Like, these people are here. They're posted up. They're happy. They're collecting this. They're collecting that. And everyone, oh my God, they don't collect, illegals don't collect benefits. Okay, but their kids do. That's the thing. Like, they have a kid. Their parents are in poverty. Now their kid is American citizen. It's per household. Look at the per household number. Thank you. I appreciate you. And I do respect you. I want to be friends with you. But this is a serious issue that we need to deal with. And it's not like we don't want immigration. I mean, some of us don't. Some of us don't. I personally would like a lot less. Like a lot less. Kind of like what we're seeing now. You know, only a couple hundred a week show up. We say, hey, no, go away. And they're like, okay, cool. That's okay. And I want anyone here that has some value to come here. H-1B visas need to be looked at again because it is very much negatively affecting the job opportunities and income of people getting out of college with the degrees that we told them to go get. STEM, coding, electronics, robotics, all these things. You have people that have certifications and some amount of training from, let's say, India. And now you have all these people taking these entry-level jobs where your college students, that's where they'd cut their teeth. That's where you find out, okay, who's good, who's not. Like, they would build their skills. They would build their resume. But they can't do that because you're never, ever, ever, you're not going to be able to compete with the third world. We're in a constant war. The West is in constant war with the third world, especially Western men. You're in a constant war with the third world. You cannot fight against what they offer as far as what they sell their labor for. You're a man, you live here, you went to college, you have the debt, you want to get an apartment, you want to have a girlfriend, you want to have a family, you want to do this, you want to do that. You're not going to be able to compete against the guy from India who has one pair of shoes. He only showers 3 times a week. And he's like, oh, I'll work for 70 cents on the dollar or 80 cents on the dollar. Oh, by the way, this company sponsors me, so I can't quit. They know they have leverage over them. By the way, he's only renting a room or maybe even a bunk in some of these places. His expenses are like nothing. His expenses are nothing. And his only desire, he's just happy to be here. One, okay, that's great. I'm happy to be here too. Remittances are high as hell. They're sending money back outside of the United States. People say, oh, well, that helps us continue to be the reserve currency of the world. Bro, there's much better ways to continue to be the reserve currency of the world. Okay? Think 10 aircraft carriers. That's awesome. Not giving away our jobs. And yes, they took our job. Like, I'm going to continue to say, this is going to be a reoccurring theme with all of my videos. They are taking your jobs and they are affecting your wage. That's why wage growth is such shit. That has many factors that go into it. One of which are you are competing with the third world. They continuously come here. And that includes people that came here 10, 15 years ago. They're competing now with the third world because they have risen their lifestyle up to an American lifestyle. And they're like, well, fuck, I can't work for that. Right? That's why they're all voting Republican. That's why the swing, you see it in the Rio Grande Valley. They know what's up. They're not dumb. Right? They're also not about this weird leftist trans shit. Right? They're very religious. Okay, that's my rant. It's not really conclusive, but you get the sense. It's just all just in a shit bag, like just giant dumpster fire, man. You know, but I always say the future looks bright, man. The future looks bright. There's always something you can look and you can always find something great to be happy about, to laugh at someone about. Here's a great example right here. This story right here. This is the good news. F35 troubles knocks Lockheed Martin out of the 6th gen aircraft competitions. Good. I live in North Texas, and a lot of people say, whoa, dude, that's not good. Here's the deal, though. We do need some level of accountability. The F-35, they try to make this plane, the one-size-fits-all plane with the Marine Corps and the Air Force and the Navy. Do all the jobs. Hasn't worked out. It's had massive issues. It's cost the taxpayers millions of dollars, and this fleet is never ready to go. It's like maybe 30% is ready to get into the air. That's not okay, man. That's not okay. And every country kind of wants to produce it itself, and the smaller countries like, oh, we'll build this part, you build that, we'll do this, and we'll assemble it, here in Timbuktu, and yay, we're all one big happy family. I get it, it's about jobs, but man, this has become a serious issue. Now we are moving on to the F-47. That's what the generals wanted to call it. It was them, it had nothing to do with me. At least that's what I've been told. Lockheed Martin, that was my first thought when this thing came up, the F-47 a couple weeks ago. I was like, oh, good. This is a cover-up for how bad the F-35 has been for the military and how we've kind of more or less been forced to have this thing because you have the brass they serve. They are making like 150 a year or something like that, 140 a year. Now they're looking for another cushy job. Where are they getting that? Well, the military industrial complex, obviously. So now they're board members into this and that, and they're going to this. But their buddies are still here. And it's kind of like this giant circle jerk of like, hey, who can get the biggest contracts? And greed is a powerful thing that will make you think about, or maybe make you not think about what is the best choice realistically, or maybe we're just over-promising. And I think that's probably what happened here, was it just over-promised. And so my first thought is, okay, this is a cover-up. Let's just move on to the F-47 and save everyone's ass, cover up the F-35, and eventually we'll just wind that down. Right? And then we'll be like F-53 and just keep covering up the last mistake. Well, there's been some planes we've been holding on to forever because they're so awesome. A-10 Warthog. Of course, we have the F-22 Raptor, which we sell to nobody. And that's still just the most badass fighter plane that we have. I mean, it's for air superiority, kind of not in the Air Force or anything about it, but air superiority, if you just clear the skies, you got to one up. Right? And then you can bring your other assets out. Well, the F-47, apparently, there's been a lot of talk, and really that's all it is, just talk. There's not really been too much released about this guy, but apparently it's going to be flying with drones, which I think is a great idea, right? Have a few on the wing that you can launch. Now you got like one guy, and then you got a bunch of drones, and they each have tons of missiles and all kinds of cool stuff. The future is really bright because sooner or later, probably sooner rather than later, there's just not going to be any pilots. There's going to be all drone operators and all the pilots, and they all look like Top Gun, and they're kind of douchey, and they walk around the carriers and the base, and they're in their jumpsuits, and they think they're really cool, and they are kind of cool flying 7 tons in between their balls. That's pretty cool, I'm going to admit. But just the cockiness of it all is just really fucking annoying. And I'm glad that's going to be gone. And what it's going to be is a bunch of fucking nerds flying drones. And they're like, yes, I played a lot of video games, and now I'm really good at bombing these churches and the hospitals and bridges and things. I mean, terrorists. That's what I'm good at. Good. And that's what we want. That's really what we need. You can send a drone in once we build this thing up. The G's that it could pull is going to be more than a human could do. The coordination between drones is going to be, on par. It's going to be better than the Blue Angels, right? You think you have like a big tank, like a C-17 Globemaster or whatever, opens up the back, 50 of these things fall out. If you're fucked, you're done, bro. you're done. And then eventually and hopefully they don't all turn on us, because they'll like run the system and realize we're actually the most dangerous thing on Earth, and then they'll kill us, but maybe not. So it's really just going to be about who can pump out the most drones. We're seeing this on a smaller scale in Ukraine, where Russia and they're like, hey, Iran, North Korea, China, can you guys build us drone? We're trying to build drone. We need drones. We need to build. You need to build. Give us the drones. China is like, slave labor. Yes, we got a fuck ton of drones. Now they got to be careful though. They can't be giving too many drones away and lose their, strategic hold over Russia. North Korea is like, dude, we barely have power, but what I do have is a lot of males as well that I want to get rid of. I'm sick of feeding them. Kim Jong-un needs all the rice. So he's sending people over there now to shore up the trench line until some kind of agreement comes to bear. Who knows if it really will. Maybe just the silos will open up and we'll just nuke each other into Ice Age. I mean, fuck, at least I won't have to pay my mortgage anymore, right? Hopefully I can get one more cup of Starbucks. But anyways, the F-47 coming to a battlefield near you, and we're all really, really interested to see what the paint job is going to look like. I think that's really what everyone is just the most excited about. What is the paint job going to look like? The Russians got a cool paint job. The Chinese kind of don't have a cool paint job. I don't want to sound like a Putin enthusiast or whatever, but like the Russians do have the coolest paint jobs on their planes. And I think that we need to just start putting really cool paint jobs on the plane, because the camo, I mean, like, if you look up and you see a plane, like, let's say the radar doesn't see it, but like you see it, it's not like, oh, it's kind of painted kind of like the clouds. Like, no, like, dude, it's a plane. It's a fast plane too. It's definitely not a 747. Oh, fuck, that missile's coming right at me, right? Just let's put cool shit on it like we did in World War II. We had shark teeth. We had swords and stuff. And then ultimately, we just very quickly, all the men just put women on the sides of the planes with really big tits. And that's what we need to get to quickly, right? We need to bring that energy back. Big tits, big ass, beautiful smile. And they don't need to be in a bikini. I actually want them in like sunflower dresses, especially because that's the season that we're in right now. Okay, they need to be in sunflower dresses, maybe holding a bouquet of flowers, stuff like that. Real like, hey, AI, like draw me a poetic picture of what the ideal Western world looks like. Women, big tits, big ass. That's what it's going to pop out. That's what needs to be on the side or the underbelly of the F-47. And so that everyone kind of knows, like, dude, we're not giving up the West without a fight, right? These are the things that we like. We don't give a shit about what you like.